Hey guys, I'm S2 Jesse. I'm making the blaster from the Force Awakens. This is the blaster that Han gave Rey, all out of aluminums. And today I'm basically going to be showing you how to use Fusion 360 to do some of the modeling and layout. It's just going to be kind of like a little beginner tutorial on how to use it. So hope you find it helpful. So as I mentioned in the intro, today is mostly going to be about Fusion 360, just a real beginner's look at how to model things using this software made by Autodesk. It's really cheap or even free if you make under a certain amount of money, I believe. So it's really powerful, but it's also really easy to use. And once you've modeled something, you can get it 3D printed or machine it, or even just use it to kind of figure out the plans and then make it by hand. Today I'm going to show you some of the most basic tools and specifically how I use them to lay out Rey's blaster. I'm not going to go into crazy detail. This program can get pretty advanced, but even with the most basics, you can make some pretty cool stuff. All right, so the first thing you need to do is gather a bunch of reference. So scour the web, the RPF, wherever you can find it. If you're trying to make an accurate prop, it's only going to be as good as the reference you can find. Now, the first thing I'm actually going to do in Fusion is I'm going to lay out a background. Now, we want to basically use that to kind of figure out our scaling. So to do that, we're going to go Insert, and you're going to attach a canvas. And you need to choose the face you want the canvas to go on, so that we're going to click the right view gizmo here. You can see it says one selected. Now we're going to choose our image we want to project. So that's going to be the side view I made earlier. Open. And now you'll see it comes in and it's rotated wrong. So I'm going to rotate the proper orientation just by moving this little slider gizmo here. You don't need to worry about scale yet. That's what we're going to do next. So hit OK. And now what we're going to do is I'm just going to click the right view. That moves us clean there. So I'm basically going to look in this list over here and you see the side view under canvases. So we're going to right click that. We're going to Calibrate. So what Calibrate allows you to do is to choose 2 points. So for instance, here's the barrel. I know that the barrel is 1.25 inches based on some of the other calculations I've done. So you can choose 1 point, another point, and you can type in that known value, so it's 1.25. And what that's going to do is it's going to scale the canvas accurately, and now we can make a lot of our other measurements based on this, and it's going to be pretty close. So now to actually start dimensioning it, we need to create a new sketch. So you can create a sketch here and choose the plane you want it on, and now we can start using the drawing tool. So I might take a line, draw a line here, checkbox ends it, start another line here, checkbox. Let's say maybe I want to see how tall this is, and you can get more accurate. I'm just doing this quick for an example. Zoom in and whatnot. So then you can hit D for dimension, and that's going to give you the length of this line. So it shows it's 0.932 inches. You say I want a little over. I'm not being that accurate, but this is how you can dimension all out. You can the distance between two lines. That's showing 0.15. If you had a circle, let's say you want to figure out these bolts. You can kind of draw a circle, and that showed me right there, or you could dimension it, D, or find it in the menu for dimension. Show it's about 0.25 something. Again, you have to be more accurate with your drawing. But so what I like to do, I dimension this all out. I keep track of it, either write it down or keep this in a separate file, and then I'll start a new file from scratch, really clean, and I'll use these dimensions when I start drawing. Alright, so we got our clean file now. Let's start a new sketch in the right view. Let's start laying out some lines. This line is going to be the axis down the barrel, and we got a line for the top of the body. Need one for the bottom of the body, and it doesn't matter exactly where these go because we're going to use dimensioning to make sure they're perfectly accurate. Okay, so now we're going to select them all. I like to make them construction lines. That makes them more like a reference. I like to take this one. This is the core. This is the center down the barrel. Let's lock that using this button here. That means we can't move it and mess it up. And I also like to take points and put points on these endpoints. Alright, so let's start dimensioning this out. So you're going to hit D for dimension. Let's select the center of the barrel and the top of the body. So I know that that's 1.375 in diameter. So the radius is half that. So what we can do is we can type 1.375 divided by 2, and Fusion will figure that out for us. So the next dimension is I know the body overall height is 3.7 inches. Yep, perfect. So now, and I know that let's take the center of the bottom radius, and we can do the same thing, 1.375 divided by 2. Okay, let's start making some actual parts. So hit stop sketch. Now you're going to go up here to your top layer and you're going to right click on it and we're going to say new component. And we're going to call this, we're going to click down here again, we're going to call this back panel. So we're going to create, and make sure you always activate it. You need to activate the thing you're working on. So we're going to make this back panel right here. And so to do that, we're going to need to go and we're going to need to create, make sure you're in this new component. A component is like a separate object, like a bolt is, the barrel, any separate piece is going to be a new component. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a new sketch. So I just create a sketch up here, and we're going to draw this from the front view. So right here in the front view now, you can kind of see our reference points we made. This is these are those little dots we made, and this is why it's going to be helpful. So we're going to create a slot. You can use any tool when you're drawing these, but let's use an overall slot, and we can snap to those. So we can snap to the very top. We can snap all the way down to the bottom of the body, and then you can drag out. But we know it's 1.375 from our measurements. And hit enter to finish it. And we can take a look at this here now. This is just a sketch. It's not an actual physical object yet. So to make it a physical object, we right click and do press pull. This is how most stuff is made. It's just you click on the plane and then you can extrude it. I'm using, let's do negative because we want to push it back, but I'm using 0.08 aluminum with aluminum. So hit OK. So now there's our first actual part. That's the back plate. Okay, so now let's create this side panel. Now one of the cool things is we're going to create a sketch where we're going to use part of this model's feature as the plane instead of like just a front, side, or back. So we're going to create a new sketch. Actually, first thing we need to do is we've got to create a new component. Don't forget that. So we're going to call this side panel and make sure you activate it. And now we're going to go create a sketch, and instead of picking one of these planes, we're actually going to click on the surface. It's kind of hard to see here, but we're going to click on this outside surface that from the piece we already made. So that's going to create the sketch on that plane. So now let's create a rectangle, and let's snap to that the center barrel point, this point, and let's drag it on out. Now the cool thing is you can see it created on this plane right here, which is kind of really neat. And so now let's just kind of dimension it again, D for dimension. If I remember right, this was a 3.25, and that's it. So now we can also we can start creating other stuff like this little window and dimension that out. I think that was 0.92, and it was 0.90, and it was 0.265 from that point, and 0.27 from that point. And you can stop the sketch, and like we did before, you can right click on empty area, press pull, select that face, and press pull it in, and let's go again, minus 0.08, because that's how wide our aluminum stock is. And that's it. So that's how you create parts. Okay, let's block in a few more of these details. So double click on your sketch, that reactivates it, and let's start creating these lines. So don't have to be perfect. It doesn't even matter if they're totally straight. I'll show you how to fix that. There's about 5 of them here. And there's 2 up here in the front. So you see some are kind of crooked. So one of the things that this parametric modeling allows you to do is you can use constraints. So let's use this horizontal vertical constraint. That's going to basically make anything I click on snap vertically and horizontally. So you see it's lining them all up perfectly. So that's nice. That's a handy tool. So let's use some circles and create some bolt holes. Just rough them in. I'm going to use dimensions to square everything up. Alright, D for dimension. Let's make them 0.14. Here's some that constraint palette again. We can use the equal sign, and we can click on 2 things to make them actually equal each other. So then if I change one, they'll all update. So that's the cool part. Is now if we go back and we dimension this any bigger, so we made it 0.25, they'll all update. So that's pretty handy. So I'll continue to dimension this offline just to save some time. Okay, so I got it all dimensioned out. So now we've been using press pull to create shapes. So now I'm going to show you how to use it to cut shapes. So stop the sketch, right click, press pull, and I'm going to select all the circles here. And before, instead of like when we press pull, it created parts like that. If you actually if you press pull and pull it through a part, it'll turn red and it actually creates a hole. So now we've got a hole through that part, and that's enough for the bolts to pass through. Just for clarity's sake, let's actually cut these grooves also. So to do that, we're going to create a new sketch, and this time we're going to click on the top plane right here, and we're going to create rectangles. Let's do a center point rectangle. That way we can snap to all these lines. Just draw a few out. I'll do a couple of them and just show you how to do it. So now that I created those, let's dimension them out. D for dimension again. So I know that there's 1/32 deep, so I'll just click that, and you can actually type in 1/32, and that'll give you your actual depth. And then I know that they're also 1/32 wide. And so we can also do that equals thing again if you want. So we can say equals 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 equals. Okay. So that's just a little example. You can do the rest on your own. But so we're going to stop the sketch. I'm going to right click. We're going to press pull. I'm going to select those faces again. And just pull them through. Okay, so I did the rest of them. Now one problem is, if you look on the actual photo, these two lines don't go all the way up. They kind of stop right about here. So that's an easy fix though. You can just press pull. You can just make a new sketch right here, draw kind of a rectangle shape, and you can press pull, and you can actually add that material back in right there. That's kind of the power of press pull. You can use that for, I would say 80% of your modeling is done with that, using various sketch planes and pressing and pulling. There's some things that are a little trickier to make. For instance, some of these shapes. There's some other tools. There's one called Revolve, which I'll show you here in a few minutes. But there's a tons of different ways. There's sweeps and lofts and all kinds of other tricky stuff that you can get into more advanced. But yeah, press pull is going to do it 80% of the time. So let me show you how to do a revolve. So I created a new component, called it knob. I added in the canvas like I showed you before. And to do revolve, it requires two things. So one, you need to have a center line. So we're going to make a center line. And just for the heck of it, we'll turn it into a construction line by clicking that. So now let's create the actual profile. What we're going to do is we're going to create a profile, and then we're going to revolve it around that line. So I'm just going to kind of like roughly trace this for now. Again, same idea. You can dimension it out perfectly later. So draw your basic shape. Then close it up. Cool, so then you can see that. So now we're going to stop the sketch, and you're going to go to Create, Revolve, and you're going to get the little pop-up window here. So it asks you to choose your profile, so that's the profile, and it's going to ask you to choose the axis, and we're going to choose that, and hit OK. That's all you got to do. So I'm going to hide my sketch. You can go into these panels, you can hide and show with these little light bulbs, so let me hide that canvas. So there you go, that's how you revolve. So using that and press pull, you should pretty much be able to make this entire blaster. The grip is the only part you might need a little more trickier stuff with. Hey guys, thanks for watching. So I'm going to go ahead and finish modeling this offline. I want to get to the machining, so we're going to do some CNC machining. It's going to be all aluminum. We're going to do some lathe work for some of the barrel tip, and probably some 3D printing for the grips on the Form 1, and then I'll cast and mold the grips as well. So if you're looking forward to seeing any of that, subscribe. If you have any tips or comments too, leave them below, and look forward to making some more videos.